Hey, what's going on, guys? I wanted to do a real quick video for you guys and tell you a little bit about how I was able to lose 60 pounds while still eating burgers and tacos and without having to try any fad diets. Now, I've tried all the fad diets out there. Well, I shouldn't say all, but I'll say that for another time. You know, at the end of the day, they just weren't sustainable for me, and that holds true for most people. You know, when you're talking about fad diets, when you know the most popular one out there right now is keto, obviously, but then you have Whole30. There's a slew of fad diets out there. Something I see a lot of, man, is people will follow a fad diet for a while, drop a bunch of weight, and gain a bunch of weight back. Drop a bunch of weight, gain a bunch of weight back. The question that I often pose to people is, can you honestly look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you're never going to eat carbs again? The answer for most people is just no. I mean, that it's not possible. I do know some people that have been sticking to keto for 4, 5, 6 years, and I get it. If that's your life and you don't ever want to eat carbs again, hey, whatever floats your boat. But what I want to do is tell you how I was able to lose 60 pounds while still enjoying burgers and tacos and pizza without having to follow a fad diet. So that's the issue with fad diets. They're just not sustainable. And the science is there to show us that with fad diets, man, when you lose a bunch of weight and then you gain weight back, and then you lose a bunch of weight and then you gain weight back, that's actually much more unhealthy for our bodies long term than just being steadily overweight the entire time. So I want to let you know how I was able to develop the perfect structure in order to drop 60 pounds, but without giving up all the foods that I love. So I'll first start by telling you a little bit about my past, man. And for those of you who don't know, I had a full-blown dad bod, man. There was a time where I was 232 pounds. I'm only 5'10", and that's way too much weight for me, man. My knees and ankles were starting to hurt. Just not a very good weight for me. But I just wasn't ready. Like, that's the thing is I didn't know where to turn. I kept going to the doctor, and my doctor was telling me, hey man, your weight's trending up, your blood pressure's trending up, your cholesterol, your triglycerides, and you might want to do something about it. So I got to work, man. I just decided one day, and I don't know that there's any one day where I actually made this declaration that I was going to just overhaul it all. But what I figured out was that I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. There was a time where I woke up every single day with low back pain. I had low energy levels. I was gasping after going up one flight of stairs or winded after tying my shoes. So that's just it's not an enjoyable way to live, you know? And so I finally decided I was going to start making some simple changes because I didn't want to overhaul it all at once. And so I started doing the couple of jogs a week, you know, the mile and a half jog. But what I was doing was justifying my poor eating habits with these couple of jogs a week. And that's just not a recipe for success. You know, there was a time where I was living off of Dole juice cartons and would never drink water. Like, I literally did not drink any water. I would buy 8 Dole juice cartons at the beginning of the week, and that's what I would live off of all week long. I would have pizza on weeknights and finish it off with ice cream in the evening. And over time, man, that just becomes a recipe for disaster, and then my weight started ticking up. So what I finally did was I went to work and I started experimenting with different workouts, different, we'll call them diets, different nutrition structure, really to figure out the perfect thing for me to give me the ability to eat all the foods that I still love. I'm a big fan of burgers, pizza, tacos. For any of you that have been following me for a while, you see me posting pictures of this stuff quite frequently. And these are foods that I love. And so for me, it was a daunting task to lose the weight, but at the same time, I didn't want to have to give up all the foods that I love, and that's why I wasn't going to follow keto or Whole30 or any of those elimination diets that, quite frankly, aren't sustainable. So if you're still listening, or you're going to listen to this later, and you're struggling with your weight and you're trying to get consistent, just know that I was in your shoes, and I know that it can be an overwhelming process. But what I also want you to know is that you don't gain weight overnight, and you certainly won't lose it overnight. But when you figure out the right structure to follow and you start implementing these things, then the sky becomes the limit for you. You just have to be consistent. And when I say consistent, that means with your cheat meals too. Now, obviously, the less cheat meals you eat, the better long term, but that's not something I was willing to give up. So I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm going to figure this out. Everybody tells me that I got to eat chicken, brown rice, and broccoli all the time, and I know that's false. I've seen people out there eating these foods that they love and still being in great shape, and I'm going to figure out how to do it. So at the time, I was a registered nurse. I became a personal trainer. I became a fitness nutrition specialist. But what I really started doing was experimenting with my own body. And when I say experimenting, I was just trying different combinations of foods, different combinations of workouts, some weight training, no weight training, long steady state cardio, interval training, and sprints. So what I did is I put all this experience together and started figuring out what worked best and what gave me the ability to get lean and stay lean throughout the week so that I could eat these foods that I love on the weekends. And so mentally it worked for me. So what I was doing was, it's basically just a mind hack, right? Like, you've got to figure out a way to trick your mind to allow yourself to go these longer periods where you're really in a good routine, but then you can let loose a little bit on the weekends. And so, I feel like most men don't want to give up the foods that they love. I get it. It's not something that most men want to give up. Like, I didn't want to give up tailgating. I didn't want to give up beers on the weekends while watching my crappy Detroit Lions play football. I didn't want to give up, burgers and pizza and tacos. I have a 4-year-old. One of our biggest sources of entertainment is going out to eat. When you have a little kid, as a father, there's not much else you can do. So in Texas, we find a patio, we go out to eat, we find a patio with a playground most likely, and let him play while my wife and I can have a couple of drinks, have our fajitas or our tacos or whatever that looks like for us that night, and then we move forward with life. So once I figured all this out, I was like, you know what? I need to get this into the ears of more men, because there's no reason for me to keep this information to myself. I want to be able to help other men be able to be around long term for their kids, but also still enjoy life. I'm a firm believer that food is one of the many joys of life. And when you start realizing that food is fuel, but you can also still enjoy those foods that you love and still get into great shape, then you start to get a little bit more disciplined throughout the weeks when you know you need to put your work in, right? Like, I'm not going to say it's easy, but here's the thing. And this is what this was kind of my shining light moment, is that I realized when I was overweight, like, that was a hard life to live. I didn't like being winded after one flight of stairs. I didn't like bending over to tie my shoes and my gut hanging over my belt, rubbing against my belt buckle and being winded after tying my shoes. I certainly didn't like the low energy levels, and I didn't like the low libido levels. I didn't like the low back pain. I'm sure my wife didn't like the low libido either, but everything was low except for the things that are super important, like my blood pressure, my weight, and my cholesterol. So I wanted to figure out the perfect way where I could eliminate my health risks, get my health in order, and then still be able to eat all the foods I love and enjoy life. And that's what I'm finally able to do. I'll turn 40 years old this year, and I'm in the best shape of my life. If you followed me for a while, you've seen any of my Instagram photos, you know that I'm in great shape. And I don't say that to brag or gloat. I say that because I'm very proud of what I'm able to do, but also share that message with other people. And that's the thing, is that when I'm able to help others do the same thing that I do, when my clients come to me and say, hey man, I never knew that it could be this simple. Thank you so much. Like, for me, that, I've got like fireworks going off in my head, because now I've gotten the message through to them. And that's what I coach to, is I call it the blueprint for sustainability. Because again, I don't believe that those fad diets are sustainable. You're talking about keto, you're talking about Whole30. I've tried them, guys. I know what they're all about. And I'm not going to tell you that I don't eat a keto meal every once in a while. My wife and I will experiment on a Friday night. But ultimately, I'm telling you right now that those just aren't sustainable. If you've tried them and you've had some success with them, but then you gain some weight back, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's not a recipe for success. So basically what I did was I put all this information together, and that's how I help my private clients get into great shape. But I also created a community of men that have access to all this crucial information to help them do the same. They're able to have access to the meal plans that I follow. They're able to have access to my fitness app with the exact workouts that I follow. They're able to track all the workouts in the app to show them exactly how they're leveling up with their health. They do progress photos, they do weekly weights, they do body stats. The app really measures it all for you. And when you're not tracking your workouts, you're doing yourself a disservice, because for me, like, if I'm not tracking, then sometimes I'll slip into a comfort zone, and that's not what I want. I want to always be bettering myself. And so if I'm going to work out and I'm going to spend, the 40 minutes at the gym or whatever that I do, I want to get optimal results for the shortest amount of time. I don't want my clients to be in the gym hours and hours at a time. I want them to be in and out so they can enjoy life, but also be healthy and fit and still enjoy all the foods that they love. So when I created this community, I was like, how am I going to go about putting all this value into a community so that these guys have access to this stuff? So I started plugging away and really built out this really amazing system. And so they've got access to the fitness app. They've got access to all the stuff that I use personally, the stress management tools. When I started implementing some meditation and gratitude journals and that kind of stuff, that goes a long way towards bringing your stress down, which then lowers your cortisol levels and gives you the ability to lose weight much easier. And that's what I wanted for my clients as well. And so once I put all that together, I was like, you know what? I'm going to create a file vault section in the community where they have access to all of this. They just go in, plug in their height and weight and their goals, spits out however many calories they need, and then they pull one of the custom meal plans, start implementing, they get in the app, they track their workouts, and boom, the magic happens. So, with all that being said, I'd love to give you the opportunity to experience this community for free for 7 days. If you go in and you find that you love the community, I'd love to hear your feedback. I'm getting nothing but positive right now, especially at the price point of $9.97 a month. So you can do it for 7 days for free. After that, like I said, it's only $9.97 a month. But get in there, figure out what's going on, and get engaged. These guys are all in there to lift you up, help you become the healthiest version of yourself, and you'll have access to all the information that I used to get myself into the best shape that I'm in at 40 years old, almost. November is when I turn 40. So I hope that helps you guys. If you're struggling with your weight right now, or you're struggling with your health, the one thing that I'm going to tell you is just to slow down. We are an immediate gratification society, and we often want results immediately. I didn't get them immediately. It took me 9 months to lose 60 pounds. But again, I was still able to eat burgers and pizza and tacos. So that's a great trade-off. As long as I'm seeing the number and the scale trend down, and I'm feeling more energetic, and I'm, and I feel like I can take over the world every day, then I feel like, man, you know what? The sky is the limit for me, and I'm willing to wait that little bit longer time so that I can eat those foods. Because again, I don't want to give those up. And so I hope that helps you guys. I'm going to drop the link down below after my video is done, and then you can, if you want to join, if you want to take me up on the free trial, come join us. It's an amazing community of men. Again, for $9.97 a month, you can't beat it. So I'll drop that down below, or you can go to www.themanupcommunity.com. Grab your free trial, man. I'd love to help you. And until next time, I'll see you in my next video, man. Y'all have a great rest of your week.